Good day everybody, my name is RagingRaptor and I welcome you to a new World of Tanks preview. And today we have a very oddly named WZ-305 or ZSU-57-2 or PGZ-80. But for some reason Wargaming decided to call it PGZ-70. Yes, that is a tier 9 Chinese double-barreled medium tank with the same mechanic as not the Ares, but the Czech light tanks. And it is a fairly potent vehicle. And the thing is, while I was doing the German video, you are the ones which are being promoted by me having already done the German one. So I know a little bit more about what I wanted to yap on. And can we talk about this? That this is a real tank. That thing existed. It is. You can grasp it. It's real. It's not fake. It's not a paper project. It's not an amalgamation of different projects. It's a real tank. It genuinely exists. IRL has seen fights. Has been used. What is this? Is this World of Tanks in 2026? That we are actually getting real tanks again? My mind is blown. My mind is completely blown. The weird thing is, why of all tanks which could have come, which are genuinely real, which I'm very happy about, genuinely. Why is it the WZ-305? It's just so weird. And the thing is, Wargaming calls it the PGZ-70. Which is mega odd because that's the name, WZ-305. And another name would be the PGZ-80. Or the real name for the Russian version, or the UdSSR version, is the ZSU-57-2. Because 57, that's the caliber of the gun, and 2, because it has 2, and ZSU, as far as I'm aware, stands for self-propelled gun, or anti-aircraft gun, because it's Russian and I can't speak Russian, so it's an assumption. Googling would have helped there. In any case, the main gimmick is har, it has 2 guns, it has a 30-second reload, it has 40 rounds in its drum, and it has a 0.1 seconds reload time in a clip, and deals or has 4 seconds to fully clip. So, that is why I've decided to compare it to obviously the Shelma, the Ares, so I have a little bit of a feeling, and the Cobra. Why the Cobra? Because it more or less really fits well in the same toxic role, and all of these vehicles are available to you to play right now. The ZSU-57 has, the PGZ-70 has 35 alpha per shot, or 50 if you shoot HE. That's very important because the AP round have 236 millimeters of pen, the APCR 288, and the HE 50. The thing is, the HE is also shown to be blue. That could mean that it has the same pen mechanic as the Shelma or the Czech light tank and the Ares line. Meaning that even if the armor is thicker than what the shell could penetrate, they still do damage. It's still something which I need to work on and try to figure out. There are some, how should we say, theories which could tell us about that thing. But we'll see about that. It's still something in the works. In any case, with that clip potential, because we have 40 rounds in it and it takes 4 seconds to fully clip, we have, with AP, we have 1400 damage, which is pretty potent. It is around the same amount the Cobra can do with just heat. Not Hesh is a lot stronger, but we all know that. The Ares doesn't really count because the Ares does around, what was it? I think it is in 3 seconds, it does around 900 damage without overheating. It's a little bit tough to say with the Ares tanks because these numbers, obviously, they do not make any sense. But yeah, it is slower in clipping but does more damage in clipping than the Shelma, even though it has less rounds because they shoot slower in the clip. The thing is, that's still 350 damage per second, which is very potent. The HE because it is definitely a viable ammunition type, does 2000 damage in the 4 seconds, which gives us 500 damage per second. Meaning this thing will delete something like light tanks, so it's probably going to be very potent in trying to blind kill light tanks. It is going to delete Waffenträger auf Panzer 4, it's going to delete Grilles, it's going to delete FVs, as long as it's not getting deleted by the FV itself. 30-second reload time is also actually not too long and is actually fairly okay, due to the fact that, hey, with these 30 seconds, you reload a whopping 18 seconds quicker than the Cobra. And it makes you a little bit more flexible when, for example, you weren't able to kill somebody, you are much quicker in the fight again. And that gives us, and take that with a grain of salt because I calculated it, a DPM of 2470. We have 8 degrees of gun depression, which is fairly funny for a self-propelled gun, or rather an anti-aircraft gun, and it's Russian, but it has 8 degrees of gun depression somehow, which is pretty decent, and it's not as good as the Cobra, but hey, we live with that. And it is fairly accurate, 0.35. That is as good as the Ares, but we also have 1.8 seconds aim time, which is the fastest of the 3 we have right here. Moving on to mobility, that actually really surprised me. 60 kph top speed, 20 in reverse, and 24 HP per ton ratio. That is more or less better than the Cobra, better than the Ares, except the Cobra is very fast in reverse for some reason, but the HP per ton ratio is a lot better. So only the Schelmer, which is a light tank obviously, is able to surpass the PGZ-70. And lastly, we have the survivability. And this one is a little bit odd. Let's put it that way. There's 1800 hit points, which you will most likely only use to trade because you have no armor. 15mm in the front, 15mm on the side, 8mm in the rear. It's odd. We have 50mm in the front, 13.5 on the side, and 8mm in the back. And 400 meters of view range, and to the crew layout we are just going to yap about in just a second, as well as the camo. The thing is, again, because this tank is legitimate, real, you know, you can touch it, we also can go to, I'm sorry Wargaming, but go to your competitor, which does have this thing in several iterations. It has it as the WZ-305, which has a gimmick, and we also have the ZSU-57. And if we go here, you will notice that the front is 12mm. Yeah, it's close enough, 15, 12, whatever. We can work with that. Maybe it's the barrels. No. But the side is also 12, which is 13.5. Close enough, we can count that. Rear, whatever. Turret, we count that. The hull, on the other hand, is 45, and 45, and even 20 here, and 20 here, and 30 here, and 10 here, or rather, where is it? 20 here. So I don't know how Wargaming got to 15, 15, 15, and 8. I don't know. That makes no sense. I'm not sure, maybe it's a mistake by Wargaming, or it's something else. Maybe that's why it's not called WZ-305, but PGZ-70, because it has less armor for some reason, so we still have a little bit of fakeness in it. And the other thing is, and this is something very, very funny. As we probably know, that's a little side tangent I want to quickly discuss. As we probably know, the Ares tank is based on a real-life concept. Obviously, one of which is the RDF-LT or the HSTVL, both of which using Ares guns, which are telescopically loaded fast-firing guns. And these fast-firing guns, we are talking about 0.75 to 1 second reload. The same goes with the WZ or the PGZ-70. These ones are clip-fed. If we look back in here, you can see that usually they would place these ammo clips right in here, and that is how it shoots. And this gives us a rate of fire of 120 rounds per minute, not 600. And it gives us a reload rate, I guess this is for the clip, so it's not really that accurate, but the reload rate is around 1 second per shot. Because, hey, 60 seconds in a minute, and we have 120 rounds, we have 2 guns, you know. So, that is just odd. Is this why it's called the PGZ-70? Because it has an arbitrary mega fast Daka version? I'm not sure. I really don't get that. And I find it a little bit sad the fact that the PGZ-70 doesn't even, like, even though it's a real vehicle, it exists, it's being used, doesn't have its real gun stats. I really do hope that Wargaming actually gives it a try and makes like a PGZ-72 as a version to try and give it its actual realistic or realisticer, closer to realism gun stats or reload rate. That would be really, really nice. The other elephant in the room is its crew layout. For World of Tanks, it's really, really bad, because anybody of you which played World of Tanks and has a Chinese tech tree grinded out knows that there's only one Chinese medium line. And that means that if you only care for top tier, aka for a tier 10, unless there's soon going to be a tier 11, who knows, you don't have a second gunner and a second loader. And the funny thing is, I made that as a mistake in a German video. I thought that this is correct, that it has 2 gunners and 2 loaders, because it has, you know, 2 guns, so you have to load them. And technically, you also have 2 visual systems here. But according at least to War Thunder, you have a driver, you have a loader here, the commander over here, the gunner over here, and a loader here. Which is very peculiar. Depending if War Thunder is to be trusted here, I generally don't know. However, they do pride themselves with very accurate systems when it comes to their tanks, and when you're looking at the others, technically would need to have 3 gunners, 3 loaders, and 1 gunner. But honestly, that's nitpicking. I say that's fine, because technically this guy could also be a gunner, you know? They both have access to the vertical aiming drive and to gunner optics, so yeah, the commander can be a gunner and this could be the commander, so I take that. You know, that is a small elephant. The big elephant is just the armor layout as well as the reload rate. And it's also just a big elephant because it's going to be very, very hard to use as a crew trainer. Lastly, we have 400 meters of view range, which is pretty darn decent. We can live with that. And the camo is worse than the Ares, but better than the Cobra. And yeah, Shelma, you don't need it. It's a light tank. Obviously, it's not good. In any case, that's it for this video. A lot of yapping. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about the PGZ-70, or rather PGZ-80, or rather WZ-305, or rather ZSU-57-2 in World of Tanks. My name is RagingRaptor. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you around. Cheers.